3 people, dead in a car. One of them a little child. The vehicle, riddled with bullets. What looked like a routine accident call turned into one of the most chilling crime scenes Birmingham police had ever seen. This is the heartbreaking story of Archa Barry. On July 13, 2024, around 2 p.m., Birmingham's 911 center got what seemed like a normal alert. An automated crash notification pinged near Highlands Park. At first, officers thought they'd find a minor accident, maybe a driver in distress, but what they actually found would stay with them forever. Inside the car was the lifeless body of a well-known hairstylist. She had been shot multiple times. In the passenger seat, another victim also gunned down. And in the back, strapped into a child's car seat, a young child, also dead. This wasn't a crash. This was an execution. And the motive? A $2,000 debt. Archa Barry, known to friends as Kia, was born on March 17, 1996, in Birmingham, Alabama. She grew up surrounded by a close-knit family that valued hard work and community. From a young age, Kia had drive. After graduating from Huffman High School, she enrolled at Lawson State Community College, where she studied cosmetology. What started as training quickly became her calling. Her clients loved her not just for her skill, but for the warmth she carried into every room. Kia's braids, sew-ins, and color work made her stand out in Birmingham's beauty scene. Her social media became her gallery, filled with bold and creative hairstyles that reflected her artistry. But behind that bright spirit, no one could have imagined the tragedy that was about to unfold. Her clients weren't just customers. They became friends, confidants, and part of a loyal circle that trusted her with more than their hair. In her small salon suite on Birmingham's East Side, the air was always filled with soft music, laughter, and the hum of hair dryers. Every post she shared online showed her growth, not only as a stylist, but as a young woman building her own path. But outside the salon, what truly grounded her was family. Kia's longtime partner, Eric Ashley Jr., stood by her through the ups and downs. Together, they raised her son, 5-year-old Landon, a little boy bursting with imagination and endless energy. But Kia's journey as a mother wasn't without heartbreak. 4 years earlier, in 2020, tragedy struck when Landon's father, Jacoran J. Brooks, was found shot to death in a burning Birmingham apartment. From then on, Kia carried the weight of parenthood on her own, determined to give Landon the love and life his father never could. And she did. The bond between Kia and Landon was unshakable. Wherever she went, he was there too, often clutching toy trucks or holding a dinosaur in each hand. She gave him everything he needed, everything he wanted, no questions asked. Their life wasn't flashy. They didn't chase trends or overshare online. They lived simply, quietly, happily. But that peace was about to be ripped away. On July 13, 2024, just after 2 p.m., Birmingham's 911 dispatch received an emergency alert from a car's crash detection system. The signal came from near Highlands Park, a quiet stretch where families jog and kids play on weekends. The alert pointed to the 1700 block of Indian Summer Drive, right off Winewood Road near the park entrance. On paper, it sounded like a routine accident. Officer Truman Fitzgerald later confirmed that the call described a crash. But what first responders walked into was something far darker. The Nissan Maxima had slammed head-on into a large tree. The driver's side window wasn't broken by the impact. It was shattered inward, pierced with bullet holes. Shards of glass littered the road. And when officers pulled the doors open, the horror became undeniable. Blood covered the seats. The air carried the sharp smell of gunpowder. Inside was Archa Barry, slumped against the passenger side window, already gone. Her body bore the signs of multiple gunshots. At the wheel was Eric, her partner, riddled with bullets and slumped over the steering wheel, frozen in the same position from the first shots fired. And in the back seat, Landon, still buckled into his booster seat, still dressed from that morning, but now lifeless. What should have been a quiet Saturday turned into a scene of devastation. 3 lives, cut short in an instant. The call came in as a crash. Officers drove to the 1700 block of Indian Summer Drive just before 6 p.m. They expected a fender bender. They found 3 bodies instead. A man, a woman, and a child. All dead. Police believe the shooting began in the Highlands Park parking lot. The victims drove a short distance before hitting a tree. Witnesses say an interaction took place between the victims and a suspect in another vehicle. Detectives keep working to learn what started the exchange. Outside the car, officers found more than 24 shell casings. The pattern on the pavement told a clear story. The casings lay in tight groups. The shooter fired with control and purpose. This was not random. Forensics later confirmed the rounds were aimed with practiced accuracy. Whoever pulled the trigger knew how to shoot. Birmingham's homicide unit moved in fast. Detectives canvassed nearby homes. They checked security cameras. They gathered every piece of evidence they could find. Officers set up a perimeter around the scene. Neighbors gave statements. Video footage became a focus. A police spokesperson said investigators dedicated every available detective to these cases. They promised a full, forceful effort to find those responsible and bring them to justice. Traffic camera footage caught a green Kia Soul speeding away from the scene right after the gunfire. The video was blurry, too grainy to read a plate, but it gave detectives their first lead. Back at headquarters, the forensic team worked the evidence. The shell casings were all 9mm rounds, showing the same rifling patterns. Most likely fired from a Glock. Common but deadly. The bullet trajectories told the story. The shooter targeted the driver's side first, firing over and over until everyone inside was hit. This wasn't a warning. It was an execution. But the darkest clue came from Kia's own phone. Minutes before the shooting, her last outgoing text read a single word, Jaco. That one name cracked the case open. Detectives ran the nickname through their database. A match popped up. 25-year-old Jacoran McGregor, known to police for low-level drug activity. There was no obvious connection to Kia, but it was enough to start digging. Digital forensics revealed even more. Investigators used Celebrite software to extract deleted data from her phone. Buried in the logs was a conversation from 2 days earlier. The texts came from an unsaved number. The messages were short, tense. Phrases like, "We need to settle this. Let's just resolve it." And finally, "We can talk face to face." First, it sounded like someone trying to calm down drama. But the fact the texts had been deliberately deleted suggested fear, not peace. When detectives traced the number, it led back to McGregor before he switched SIM cards. And then came the discovery that sealed the connection. On the edge of the city, police found a burned-out green Kia Soul. Its VIN was scratched off, but forensics uncovered one hidden chassis stamp that survived the fire. The car matched the one seen fleeing the scene. The burned-out Kia Soul had been reported stolen just 2 days before the murders. That was the first red flag. Then came the cell tower data. McGregor's phone pinged near Highlands Park minutes before the murders, then went dark. Hours later, it powered back on across town, not far from where the burned car was dumped. But it wasn't just about placing him at the scene. The phone records revealed something deeper. Investigators checked Eric's phone, and what they found shifted the case. Multiple calls and texts linked to the same number as McGregor. The conversations were laced with words like drop and settling. Detectives knew that kind of language. It sounded like narcotics talk. Neither Eric nor Kia had criminal records, but the money trail told another story. 2 days before the murders, Eric withdrew $2,000 in cash. The money vanished. No deposits, no trace, but phone activity with McGregor's burner spiked that same day. Investigators pulled GPS data from the Kia Soul's onboard diagnostics. It placed the car inside Highlands Park between 1:50 and 2:15 p.m. on July 13th. The timeline matched perfectly with eyewitness reports and surveillance footage of the car speeding away. Forensics found accelerant on the vehicle, likely gasoline. While most of the car burned, the undercarriage stayed partially intact, enough to recover a damaged SIM card fragment. That SIM's IMSI number matched the same burner phone tied to McGregor. Then came the final piece. Cell tower pings tracked McGregor's burner phone moving in sync with the Kia Soul from the park to the outskirts of Birmingham. At 1:48 p.m., his main phone suddenly powered off. It didn't come back online until after 4:30 p.m., miles away from both the park and the burned vehicle. The digital trail, the forensics, the money, it all pointed in one direction. On July 20th, 2024, exactly 1 week after the murders, Birmingham police moved in. They arrested Jacoran McGregor at an apartment complex on the city's west side. He didn't resist. He didn't confess either. Instead, he claimed he was at a friend's place across town during the shootings. But that alibi collapsed almost immediately. The friend's phone records showed he never left his apartment. McGregor's phone, however, told a very different story. That 2-hour blackout on McGregor's phone lined up perfectly with the time of the murders. And then another piece clicked into place. A witness, someone with no ties to either the victims or McGregor, told police he saw a man matching McGregor's description walking near the burned Kia Soul around 3 p.m. There was no surveillance video to confirm it, but the sighting supported the timeline investigators had already built. And the SIM card found under the melted driver's seat of the torched car? It didn't just survive. It matched McGregor's burner phone, tying him directly to the getaway vehicle. Still, even with all the mounting evidence, major holes remained. There was no murder weapon, no DNA, no video of McGregor pulling the trigger. Justice was far from guaranteed. At the preliminary hearing, a Jefferson County grand jury was called to decide whether the evidence against Jacoran McGregor was strong enough for indictment. The pressure was intense. Without a confession or a recovered gun, prosecutors had to rely on digital footprints, financial records, forensic evidence, and motive. The assistant district attorney laid it out piece by piece. First came the ballistics. Investigators had recovered 27 shell casings, all 9mm, all consistent with a Glock. The pattern was tight, deliberate. This wasn't a drive-by. This was an execution. Next came the digital trail. McGregor's main phone pinged near Highlands Park minutes before the murders, then went dark. His burner phone lit up in the exact same location and tracked the same path as the stolen green Kia Soul. That burner went silent just after 2:30 p.m., then resurfaced near the spot where the burned car was dumped. And under that charred vehicle seat, the partially destroyed SIM card still carried an IMSI number, a perfect match to McGregor's burner. Then prosecutors turned to Eric Ashley Jr.'s financial records. In the weeks before the murders, Eric had made repeated withdrawals. $200 here, for $100 there. But 2 days before the shooting, he pulled out a sudden lump sum of $2,000. His messages painted the picture of rising tension. One text read, "You're running out of time." And finally, the motive. A confidential informant told police McGregor owed Eric money. The debt came from a failed deal. When Eric pressed him to pay up, McGregor allegedly snapped. His chilling response, "You'll get your answer soon." Then came the clue that tied everything together. Both Kia's and Eric's deleted messages mentioned a place called The Lot. Detectives dug in, and they found it wasn't random slang. The Lot was a shutdown gas station on the edge of the city. Years earlier, it had been a known drop point in narcotics cases. 10 days before the murders, surveillance cameras caught a green Kia Soul parked there. The same make and model later found burned. No faces were visible, but the timestamp matched messages exchanged between Eric and McGregor's old number. This wasn't their first meeting. The grand jury also heard from friends and family. Eric's sister recalled overhearing a heated argument on the phone. One of Kia's co-workers remembered her saying she had to go with Eric to a meeting that couldn't wait. And then the unthinkable. All three, Eric, Kia, and 5-year-old Landon, executed. The jury deliberated for just over 4 hours. When they returned, the decision was clear: 3 counts of capital murder. Jacoran McGregor was ordered held without bond. His attorney entered no plea. A trial date would be set. But for Birmingham, the pain didn't wait for a courtroom. Word of the killings spread fast. Vigils were held at Highlands Park. Blue and white balloons filled the sky. Neighbors left teddy bears, flowers, and candles at the crash site. Kia's co-workers described her as peaceful, focused, and uninvolved in Eric's business. Her only role that day was tragic. She was a mother, caught in the middle. At Landon's elementary school, teachers and classmates gathered for their own tribute. They released balloons into the air, each child clutching a drawing or card for their lost friend. His teacher, holding back tears, called him bright, curious, and kind. The city grieved. 3 lives gone, one over a debt of $2,000. When I say stop, you say violence. Stop the violence. Stop the violence. The chant echoed at a vigil for 5-year-old Landon Brooks, his mother 29-year-old Archa Barry, and Eric Ashley Jr. They were sitting in a car on Indian Summer Drive when someone opened fire. At the park where Landon once played youth football, his coaches fought back tears as they spoke. One said, "We need answers. You didn't just take him, you took his mom. We had him out here every day, asking how he was doing. And we knew, deep down, he wasn't okay. His dad was already gone. This was his safe place, his outlet. Now he's gone too." Another added, "For a lot of these kids, this is their comfort zone. Some don't know how to open up at home. So we step up. We answer the questions they can't." The funeral was held days later at New Bethlehem Baptist Church. It was packed wall to wall with family, friends, co-workers, teachers, and neighbors. This wasn't just about closure, it was a reckoning. This wasn't random. It wasn't mistaken identity. It was a personal conflict that spiraled into tragedy. And in moments like this, words fall short. But this message stands as a tribute to Archa, Eric, and little Landon. Their lives were filled with love, laughter, and hope. To their families, friends, and everyone touched by their story, may you find strength in each other, healing with time, and peace knowing their light continues to shine. We grieve with you, and we remember them. Always. What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if the story gripped you, hit like, share it forward, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.